Hello, our most valued student. My name is Confident. Welcome again to our session today, and I just want to look at a few changes which we might be seeing in the future, or if ever they are going to take place. And I'm bringing in the phasing out of N1 to N3 courses, as well as other changes to NATED courses. So I believe if you are watching this video, you might be interested in doing your N1 to N3 or your N4 to N6, be it under business studies or engineering studies. And if you are thinking of doing so, you need at least to have an idea what are the changes that are earmarked, or what is the future concerning these courses. So I just want to bring kind of an idea to you which you can use as you navigate your studies. And just before I go on, there is one college that I'll recommend, which is Agro-Learning Technical College, which offers the engineering related courses, which is N1 to N6. So if you're interested in registering for your distance learning, as well as if you want some, they call it correspondence, you can actually check their website. It's www.etcollege.co.za. They are very good in terms of distance learning, as well as some support that you get through that. So if you're interested in your engineering related courses, you can check them for your studies. Now quickly, as I said, I would just want to bring to you some changes that are earmarked in the report 191 National Accredited Technical Education, which is abbreviated as NATED. So if we're saying NATED courses, we are simply saying it is National Accredited Technical Education, which is from N1 to N6 courses. Now, these were introduced from early 1980s. For you who just want to find, or just to give you a background, a brief background to say when were these introduced, the NATED courses, or the N1 to N6, which are commonly known, they were introduced in 1980s, and that is almost 40 years ago. And in these 40 years, guys, before that is to say, the fields of study are engineering studies as well as business studies. So now, since this time, just to go back, since the 1980s here that we are referring to, do you know that there has never been much curriculum change in these courses? So these courses are almost 40 years old, and the curriculum is still the same as it was 40 years ago. Hence this growing need to scrap out this N1 to N6 because it is outdated. Think of it, you are still learning today what others learned in 1980. That is almost 40 years ago. I mean that is too long. So now they are saying since 2009 there were calls to scrap out the NATED courses due to being outdated. I think you'll also agree with me to say at least there needed to be some changes along. I mean, if you look at a course that is 40 years ago, and with these current rapid changes that are happening, especially in the we're in the information age, and with a lot of ITC that is coming in, with a lot of you talk of robotics, you talk of the Internet of Things, and you talk of a lot of changes, especially in the online space. You can see that there has been less actually what I can say attention given to these courses, making students who are doing these courses actually out of line, out of sync with what is happening in the current world. For example, let's say I understand with mathematics, I understand with science, sometimes there will be very minimal changes. But if you take subjects such as for example, industrial electronics, you can see there is a lot of changes in the electronics space. If you take subjects such as motor and diesel trade theory, there's been a lot of changes. Think of it, in the olden system, we used a carburetor system, and today there is not even any car that still uses such a system. It's now injectors with a lot of technology in them. So now think of students now still studying about the carburetor system. It is too outdated, that's what they're saying, and it is needing some revamp. So now what happened then is in 2009, there were calls to scrap out this, and the man behind that time was the Minister of Higher Education, which is Bled Nzimande. So this is the man whom the calls were made for him to scrap out the N1, N6. That was in 2009. Well, everything was going, actually they almost scrapped this out, or there was a resolution to scrap this out, but this article was dated on the 29th of May 2011. As you can see, it says minister, who is as I told you, this is the minister behind by then, says minister in U10 offer scrapped and courses. That was in 2011. That is 2 years after a suggestion to scrap them out. So they were saying here the artisan and technical training crucial for the country's economy. So what they're saying is, in as much as they wanted to scratch them out, they discovered, what are you going to replace this with? I don't want to talk much about the NCV, but here I'm focusing on the netted courses and why the industry saw this as very important. Just in a brief, it says, as higher education institutions buckle under pressure at the beginning of each year with potential students, it says, with potential students, with potential students jostling for scarce space, authorities have looked to the past to sort out the post-school challenge for universities and students. Now, Higher Education Minister Bled Nzimande has dusted off the old netted N1 to N3 courses for reuse. Remember, they were being scrapped out, so now they were being brought back, even though these were discarded because they were perceived as inferior to universities. But as it turns out, these outlets churned out many artisans. You see why they need them? A lot of artisans actually were coming from this, and other technically skilled people badly needed in the economy. So they are saying these N1 to N3 were producing many artisans and other technically skilled people which were badly needed for the economy, and also absorbed many people who now form long queues at universities at the beginning of each year. So instead of other students going for universities, these other students were choosing the N1 to N3 courses. So they're saying, this is now what Bled was saying. The minister says, I have reversed the decision made 3 years ago. As I said, 2009 there, says, I have reversed the decision made 3 years ago to phase out netted 191 programs, commonly known as N courses, as a result of strong demand from colleges and employers. So what made these courses to be brought back? These are two institutions, the college as well as the employers. They saw a very strong need of that. Definitely colleges wanted this back because if it was private, it meant a loss of income for them. If it was public, it means also reduced enrollments. But above all, the most critical factor beside the colleges is the employers. Remember, these students, after they finish, they were finding more better opportunities of employment compared to actually university students. So these courses were, in a way, very favored by the employers. And if ever the employer says we need them, there is a slight chance of that course being taken out. So now Bled, the minister, was under pressure here to phase them out, and the pressure was mainly put by the employers. He says, however, the N course curriculum are in need of updating, and we shall do so. I'm going to talk much about that. He says colleges will work with sitters and employers to provide and expand the training tailored at the specific need, blah, 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 blah. And then if you continue with that, he said bringing back, let me continue here, reading from here. He said bringing back the N courses was likely to have a positive effect. The decision to do away with N courses was widely regarded as a bad move by the engineering, building, manufacturing and other technical industries. So these are the industries that actually forced the bringing back of these courses. Are you seeing? And then say COSA agrees that the curriculum will have to be reviewed to allow more seamless movement into university for those who want to acquire degrees later on their careers. I'm not going to talk about that. But now the thing is, these were at one time also proposed to be scrapped out, but now they were brought back, and we are still under that season where they were brought back from 2011, and now we are in 2020. And you guess what happened on November 2020? I can just show you this part. Remember, Blade Nzimande changed as the minister. I don't know the time, but the other minister who came in between 2009, 2011, as well as 2020. I think the minister Blade Nzimande became the Minister of Higher Education again from 2018 or so. But there was the Minister Naledi Panda, who was also the Minister of Higher Education. So during a term, there was no much said about these N courses. Now the minister again is back on his office, and when he was elected again, this issue of the NATED courses came under scrutiny. So this is the Department of Higher Education again, dated on the 6th of November 2020. This is a government gazette. As you can see, it was a government gazette, meaning it was a public document for comments. And then it says here, continuing, it's number 1177, you can check it out. It says Continuing Education and Training Act number 16 of 2006 as amended, National Qualifications Framework Act of that. It says here, what was the reason for this gazette? It says call for public comments on the proposed, that's the part, on the proposed technical and vocational training TVET college programs. And then it says Ayibonga Nkosi Emmanuel Nzimande, Minister of Higher Education, Science and Innovation, in terms of section blah 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 blah. And then it says hereby call for public comments on the proposed changes to TVET colleges as set out in the schedule below. And then it says all interested parties, persons and or organizations are invited to submit their comments in writing, and same must be directed to. So these organizations usually are companies, as you always say. The persons are also colleges. So these are the most instrumental in such. So you address this for that. So he signed it, as you can see, on the 9th of August 2020, Minister Blade Nzimande. So what was he signing at this stage? He was signing a few things here. Let me just read the background here. He's saying the white paper on post-school education and training 2013 sets a clear mandate for TVET colleges as the primary institutions for delivery of mid-level skills. In terms of this mandate, TVET colleges must produce graduates who will enter employment, be self-employed, pursue further studies. Says the TVET landscape has historically only centered on the report N1-N3 NATED qualifications, which largely shaped how these institutions were structured and they operated. The introduction of the new National Vocational Curriculum Vocational NCV in 2007 marked a shift in the status quo. However, intentions to phase out NATED programs, look at this one, intentions to phase out NATED programs were abandoned, and over time, the technical and vocational education training branch has struggled to position and define the purpose of TVET. So what they wanted to do was, when they were bringing in NCV, they wanted to phase out the N1 to N6. So what has happened now in the colleges, this NCV has actually received poor support. It has been actually, there's a lot of investment in terms of what the government did in the NCV, in terms of workshops, in terms of teachers, in terms of resources. It's actually well resourced, but with very few students going for this. Most students are still interested in the NATED courses. So now what they wanted to do was, when they were bringing in NCV in 2007, remember in 2009, that's when they phased out the N1 to N3, which they brought back in 2011 when they saw that it was not going to work. So they thought this NCV was going to be the one that was going to take over that space. And then it says here Several discussions have been held at various forums around the preferred and necessary focus of the TVET colleges, including the implications of the range of qualifications offered and the burden of the national exam system. Much of this is documented in the national, if I can just continue there, it says in the national plan for post-education, blah, 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 blah. It says the rapid changes to the skills needed by the South African and global economies as a result of the this is what is driving the change of the fourth industrial revolution necessitates the TVET sector to align its programs and offering and curriculum accordingly. To be frank, guys, with the fourth industrial revolution that is coming, definitely we need to look at the NATED courses for relevancy. In this regard, a position paper which proposes changes to the programs offered by TVET College was developed by the Department of Higher Education and Training. Now, these are the changes if ever you are looking at doing this in the future. The first part that we changes was the phasing out of N1 to N3 programs. And then it says here, with the phasing out of the NSC, which is also detailed before, there was what is called the National Senior Certificate, NSC for colleges from 2020. There is a policy about that, and then it talks about the completing for 4 N3 engineering subjects together with business, English and Afrikaans no longer enable students to qualify for an NSC equivalent qualification. The absence of the NSC for colleges therefore limits the N3 certificate progression and articulation opportunities. There are now at least 4 other routes that students can follow in preparation for artisan trade test in the absence of N2 certificate. The alternative routes are as follows. So if you want to do trade testing and qualify as an artisan, you can look at the 4 optional approaches. Number 1, a technical trade theory program, which is offered by the SETAs, and then a relevant engineering NCV certificate, and then a technical grade 11 mathematics, science, language, and 1 related theory subject can allow that. So in grade 11, we can use that. And also, they are saying here, a relevant directly related to the trade theory N6 certificate or national technical diploma, which is NS and N stream. So this can allow you to still become an artisan. Now the changes, I know students will still say, but I want to do the N1 to N3, and I'll explain why they do that. Then they say the Quality Council for Trades and Occupation has registered occupational qualifications at NQF level 4 in the same engineering field as N1 to N3. Now with that, this is what is proposed. So this is what they proposed. So I wanted to take note of the new proposals then, which might be implemented in the future. It says N1, N2 and N3 programs be phased out over the next 3 academic years. And what are those? It is 2021, 2022 and 2023. So if everything was going to plan, we were expected not to be offering N1 in 2021, and then this year is 2022, we're supposed to be stopping offering the N2, and then next year it was going to be the end of the N1 to N3, but such is not the case. I will explain that later. And then says from 2022, no new N1, N2 and N3 students be enrolled, but examinations will still be offered for the remaining 2 years. So what they are saying is, let's say you started already your N1 now in 2021, they are saying they will not admit any new N1 student from 2022, but those students who are already in the system will move to N2, later to N3. So these students says this will give students in the pipeline more opportunities to complete the N1 to N3 qualification. So if you are already in, you have to continue continuing with your N1 to N3. You don't have to panic. There will be rewrites given, chances to write again, as long as you have already registered for that. What is important is you will have registered. It says the QCT or registered occupation qualifications in the relevant engineering fields to be phased in TVET colleges to replace the N1 to N3 programs. So they are saying here this QCTO, the Quality Council for Trades and Occupations, they are going to phase in a new curriculum which is going to take care of the N1 to N3. The reason being, remember, they are outdated. It was supposed to be in 2022, but such has not been the case. So guys, that is the part to say, if you were looking at doing this, just know the current changes that are being proposed. This was for comments, but in 2020 there was an issue of the COVID-19, so all these plans, they fell out of course. But not only that, apparently the industry rejected this proposal. They rejected the scrapping out of these and said, do not scrap them out. Instead, you need to update the curriculum. So now the Department of Higher Education is in limbo. They are in a stalemate. They are in it's just what I can call they are in no man's land here to say, what do we do? Remember, already there is a curriculum they want to bring in and phase out the N1 to N3, but at the same time the industry is rejecting this new curriculum, especially the employers. They are saying you need to update what is already in existence. So now that's the challenge that is being brought in at the moment, which has resulted in the N1, N2, N3 continuing as normal, but again being the old curriculum. So you see the problems there. I'm not going to do the NCV at the moment, but the aim here was to focus on N1 to N3, and also for you guys who might be interested in N4 to N6, also there will be a few changes. What is it about the N4 to N6, be it especially the engineering field? It says the take-up of engineering studies of N4 to N6 is incongruent with the historical take-up of N1 to N3, which suggests that the majority of students who complete N3 do not progress to N4. It says entry into N4 requires the National Senior Certificate or an equivalent as an entry requirement. Nonetheless, there is a purpose toward the National Diploma. Remember, N4 to N6 is when you're working towards a diploma, which is made up of N4 to N6, 3 trimesters and 24 months work experience. So to get a diploma, you need your N4 to N6 as well as 24 months of work experience. Even though issues around this curriculum have been raised, the curriculum needs to be updated. There is the part now, they need to update the curriculum to ensure that deeper and current technical knowledge as well as campus-based practical component are incorporated into the engineering programs. So they also want these programs like NCV to have some practical components. It says there are national diplomas in engineering studies that still have relevance and can serve a purpose to those students with the NSC, provided students has technical subjects which allow for progression into the N4 engineering studies. And then it says here, both on the above, it is proposed that, so this is the proposal now for those who want to do their N4 to N6. Number 1, all N4, N5, N6 programs be changed from trimester to semester programs, that is 6 months. Remember, they were written every 3 months. It was trimester with exams in April, in July, August, as well as November. So now they are saying instead of having 3 exam sittings, they need to update the curriculum so that there are only 2 exam sittings, which is 6 months, which is in June and in November. It says with additional curriculum components to keep up with industry changes. So it will be now a longer curriculum, but at the same time more time needed. It says the experiential learning requirement for the National Diploma in Engineering Studies be changed from 24 months. So they are saying now the work experience, you change it from 24 months, now you reduce it to 18 months so that students can get more diplomas in a much shorter pace. It says the students enrolled in the trimester based and diploma during the transition period to be allowed to complete the 24 months experiential learning accordingly, and the above changes to be phased in from 2024. So we are not yet in 2024. We are going to see how this is going to be. But just to give you a heads up, there has already been things that are happening around with less update from the department, but right now as I'm speaking, the N1 to N3 especially, we are seeing some new or some updated curriculum. For example, if you look at the electrical trade theory for N1, N2, you will see that the current exams are actually having some new modules that were added in that book, which means they are already revising some of these N1, 2, and 3, not phasing them out. So what we don't know is, are they going to phase them out, or are they going to change? Are they going to update them? Remember, the industry rejected this phasing of the N1 to N3. So is the whole movement now towards, instead of phasing them out, is it towards updating them, which is what they are not, as I said, making it clear. So if you are earmarking yourself as a career under your N1 to N3, just know the time is limited. To me, this is for those who are already wanting to finish their kind of N1 to your career in a short space of time. Remember, these are still trimesters. This will be a very, very good opportunity because it takes a short time for you to do your N1 and especially N2. Remember, when you get your N2, you can then do your trade testing, which they need your N2. Now, what is it that makes me become an advocate for these needed courses? Number one, yes, it is outdated. Definitely it needs a revamp. Definitely it needs to be changed into something updated into the current stage. But now for those who want to take advantage of this, the N2 certificate, remember, they use this for your trade testing, and it just take you, I will say, 6 months, if not 8 months. Remember, it's April exams. You do your N1, and then from N1 you take another 3 months, you do your N2. Then you qualify now to do your trade testing with the N2 certificate. So it is a shorter period of time. Yes, the industry where you're going to, they will update your knowledge at the moment, because as we said, these are out of date. But whenever you're going to your industry, you discover that yes, the students actually have gotten old information from the books that they were learning the theory, but the industry is there currently to update the student into something relevant. So at the moment, to me, it is an advantage if you are interested in taking advantage of such. And then looking at the other parts, they said you try NCV. NCV will take you now 3 years. Remember, it's a 3-year kind of study. From 3 years, think of it now, it was 6 months and 3 years. That's why students are abandoning this one and focusing on N1. And the other ways of getting your trade testing, it takes even longer. So the N2 at the moment is the one that is favorable. Why? Because of time. Students always want to save time. Students always want to do something that will quickly lead them into workplace. So I think even on my side, N2 is still the way to go. Let them update it for now until they can bring in something that the industry will also accept as competitive and making students in a short space of time be able to join the industry. So now, as I said, if you are interested then in these courses, you can check the college here, Ekurhuleni Technical College, which offers distance learning or correspondent courses, and this is their website, which is www.etcollege.co.za. and as I said, it offers these through distance and correspondence, and the courses there are mechanical courses. You talk of your boiler making, talk of your fitting and turning, talk of your motor trade theory, motor trade, diesel trade, talk of your rigging, talk of your chemical engineering, the electrical being light current, heavy current, and instrumentation, as well as installation rules for you guys who want to do your wireman's license. So you can consider that. So I hope this was of benefit to you. I keep these updates so that at least you have an idea what is happening around you while you are navigating your career. Thank you.